ECDL Advanced, Word, Lesson 44, Creating Index Entries. An index shows the position of selected words or phrases in a document. Text required for inclusion in the index must be specifically marked before the index can be created. Once styles and captions have been created in a document and cross-referencing and index entries have been marked, it is a simple process to create tables for the entries. We're now using the cross-ref file again. We want to highlight the first occurrence of the word house in the first paragraph. So this is now selected. From the References tab, we want to select Mark Entry, which will be in the index group, so it's over here. Make sure that Current Page is selected in the Options part of the Mark Index Entry dialog box. Check the italic, which you'll find in the page number format section. Next, click Mark All. This will create an index entry for the first occurrence of house in each paragraph. The index entry is shown as a field beginning with XE, as we can see up here. And what we can do is, if we click the Show Hide button, we can use that to view the index entries. So let's press Close, and from Home we can either show the entries or alternatively take them out. Now, as an aside, indexes or indices are case sensitive, so house with a capital H is not the same as house with a little h. Another point that's worth making is that if you want to mark an index entry quickly, then rather than going through the process that we just have done, you could select the text and then press Shift, Alt and X at the same time. That's Shift, Alt, X. What that will also do is mark the index entry. As another aside, indexes can be marked by entering all the words to be indexed in a separate document. Then what you would do is save the document, then go to the index group, select Insert Index, and then you have the option to auto mark. If you select the created file, Word will automatically index every occurrence of the word. So that might be a way of doing it if there's an awful lot of indexes that you wish to mark. We've already pressed Close, which removed the dialog box. We now want to scroll through the document, and what we'll find is an index mark appears next to every occurrence of the word house. So let's go back to Home. Let's put in the paragraph marks, and we will now see that in the first paragraph we have the word house, which clearly has been marked. And as we go further down, house with a capital H has not been marked because, as we said, that's different. Every time the word house appears with a small h, at that point you will see that it shows this XE, showing that this is a marked entry. Next, if we go to page 1 and find paragraph 2, you're going to find the word gardens. If we select the word gardens, this time we're going to do the shortcut, which is Shift, Alt and X. That takes us straight into the Mark Index entry. Again, check italic for the page number format, and then press Mark All, then close the box. If we now scroll down the document, what we will see is that whenever the word gardens turns up, which is written the same, we will find that we have a marked entry. So let's find one. There's one over here. Again, it shows the XC Gardens to show that it's a marked index entry. Next, as we scroll down, we're going to create index entries for the word Elizabeth with a capital E. So then Shift-Alt-X, make sure it's italic, and then mark all. Next, we want to find the word tower, so I found one just under Fig 1. So select the tower and then Shift-Alt-X, italics, and mark all, then close. Now, as we're going through this, don't use the entries in the table of figures or the paragraph titles. The next one we're going to look at is Pets Corner. So again, I'm not going to pick the paragraph title, I'm going to pick this section just here. So Shift-Alt-X, italic, mark all. The next one is shop. Shift-Alt-X, italic, mark all. And finally, we want to find tea room. So again, not in the titles. Shift-Alt-X, italic, mark all. Next, let's move up. We're going to be going now to page 2, which is the one that has the house and the gardens in. We're going to highlight the word tower over here, and we're going to press Shift-Alt-X. Now, in the Mark Index Entry dialog box, select Cross-Reference, which you'll find in the Options area, and after the word C, type in Gardens, and then click Mark. Next, on page 3, highlight the word maze over here. Again, Shift-Alt-X. In the Mark Index Entry dialog box, type Gardens as the main entry and Maze as the sub-entry. Click Mark. Now, what we wish to do, close and save the document. This time we're going to save it as index. File, save as, index. In order to create the index itself, we're going to put this at the end of the document, so let's scroll down to the very end of the document. We're going to put in an extra page, so therefore we're going to do a page break. That's Control Enter. At the top of the fresh page, type the word index and make sure that the word index is formatted as heading 1. So select the word index, go on to home, and across the section that says styles, select heading 1. Now we want a new line underneath here, so I'm going to press enter a couple of times in fact. And on this new line, from the References tab, select Insert Index, which you'll find in the Index section. And this will display the Index tab in the dialog box. And select Fancy Format. Click on the down arrow next to Formats and click on Fancy. At that point, click OK to create the index table. Now, what you'll find is, and notice how maize is shown as a sub-entry of gardens, that's over here, and also how the entry for tower, it shows C gardens. So therefore a cross-reference has been created from the index. Let's just go on to home and take away the non-display marks. This is what it would look like if you're printing out. What you have now is an index table which includes the cross-references that we were talking about earlier. Next, let's move back on to show the various paragraph marks. If we then move to the first index entry, tea rooms, which should be at the top of page 5. Let's have a look for that. Correct. At the top of page 5, we've got an index entry for tea rooms. If we want to edit that index entry, so change the text inside the quotation marks, that's here, what we can do is to change that, for example, to cafe. Next, select the index entry for tower in the text, which you'll find in the gardens section on page 2, just underneath the figure 1. So select the index entry for tower in the text, select the entire field, including the brackets, and then press delete. Finally, we've made some changes. We want to see that the index is going to be updated. If we move along to the bottom of the document, which is where we've got the index itself, click on it, press F9, and what we'll now find is it has updated everything according to the changes that we've made. Okay, we've now finished this section. What you want to do now is to close the document and just save any changes. Okay, thank you. See you next time.